How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, SHOW, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 1.
Hello, America. Welcome. We've got some breaking news out of the gate. We'll get to all the intro stuff here shortly. It is Eric Erickson nationwide. The United States Secret Service has dismantled a potential terror threat in New York on the run-up to the United Nations meeting today. Donald Trump was addressing the United Nations a short time ago, and before that came out, the U.S. Secret Service dismantled, in their words, a network of electronic devices located throughout the New York tri-state area that were used to conduct multiple telecommunications-related threats directed towards senior U.S. government officials, which represented an imminent threat. The Protective Intelligence investigation led to the discovery of more than 300 co-located SIM servers and 100,000 SIM cards across multiple sites. In addition to carrying out anonymous telephonic threats, these devices could be used for a wide range of attacks, including disabling cell phone towers, enabling denial of service attacks, and facilitating anonymous encrypted communication between potential threat actors and criminal enterprises. Forensic investigation is ongoing. All the devices were concentrated within 35 miles of the United Nations General Assembly, happening now inside New York. This is a pretty big deal. This is John Miller, a analyst at CNN for national security.
So this is quite an amazing story and nothing like we've seen before. But the Secret Service investigating these swatting calls traced these phone signals down to a number of locations in basically a circle, a 35-mile donut around New York City. And when they hit these apartments, they found 300 servers connected to 100,000 SIM cards. This machinery was able to, on command, put out 300 million phone calls within 12 minutes. What does that mean? What that means is it could have flooded the cellular systems with volume, basically a denial of service attack that would have made other calls not able to get through. And when you try to trace that back to who's behind it with 100,000 SIM cards, that's 100,000 different phone numbers you're trying to sort through to figure out, well, which ones do we block? It would have been a stunning attack, but there's something more behind this, because as they started to examine who some of those SIM cards, they've got a lot to go through with 100,000, had been communicating with. They found foreign agents from hostile foreign powers, including China, talking to criminal organizations, including Mexican drug cartels, along with swatters, along with terrorist organizations. So whoever built this network of hubs was either a hostile foreign power or some criminal genius who decided to give them a massive switchboard with incredible power.
That's important here. The nexus between China and the Mexican drug cartels inside New York City in the run-up to the United Nations. This is a very serious ongoing investigation uncovered by the Department of Homeland Security, the Department of Justice, and the National Intelligence apparatus, and the NYPD. Massive, massive. Essentially what could have happened is, if they activated all of those servers at once to generate phone calls inside New York City's cell network, it would have shut down the entirety of New York City's cell network, which would have also impacted communications. If something were to have happened at the United Nations, there would have been no way for first responders without real, old-fashioned walkie-talkies to be able to communicate. Very big deal. While this was all going on, the United Nations is meeting, and the president of the United Nations, or of the United States rather, addressed the United Nations, and, well, he began with a malfunctioned teleprompter.
And I don't mind making this speech without a teleprompter because the teleprompter is not working. I feel very happy to be up here with you nevertheless, and that way you speak more from the heart. I can only say that whoever's operating this teleprompter is in big trouble.
Now, can I just say, I don't care whether you like the man or not. There is no possible way that Joe Biden could have winged it like that. There is no way Joe Biden could have made off-the-cuff humorous remarks about the teleprompter in the way that Donald Trump did. For all the Democrats who are suddenly interested in the mental capacity of the president, Donald Trump could pull off that. Joe Biden couldn't, and you all know that it's true. Now, what did he have to say? Here's some of the president speaking to the United Nations just a short time ago.
Not only is the UN not solving the problems it should, too often, it's actually creating new problems for us to solve. The best example is the number one political issue of our time, the crisis of uncontrolled migration. It's uncontrolled. Your countries are being ruined. The United Nations is funding an assault on Western countries and their borders. In 2024, the UN budgeted $372 million in cash assistance to support an estimated 624,000 migrants journeying into the United States. Think of that. The UN is supporting people that are illegally coming into the United States, and then we have to get them out. The UN also provided food, shelter, transportation, and debit cards to illegal aliens. Can you believe that? On the way to infiltrate our southern border. Millions of people came through that southern border. Just a year ago, millions and millions of people were pouring in, 25 million altogether over the 4 years of the incompetent Biden administration. And now we have it stopped, totally stopped. In fact, they're not even coming anymore because they know they can't get through. But what took place is totally unacceptable. The UN is supposed to stop invasions, not create them and not finance them. In the United States, we reject the idea that mass numbers of people from foreign lands can be permitted to travel halfway around the world, trample our borders, violate our sovereignty, cause unmitigated crime, and deplete our social safety net.
I gotta say, I prefer him off the cuff instead of on a teleprompter. He's so much more subdued when he's on a teleprompter, so much less funny, humorous. I realize that there are times for somberness, but I don't think so. At the United Nations was kind of a joke entity anyway, and he pointed out what a joke entity it was. A little more of the president from the United Nations.
According to the Council of Europe in 2024, almost 50% of inmates in German prisons were foreign nationals or migrants. In Austria, the number was 53% of the people in prisons were from places that weren't from where they are now. In Greece, the number was 54%, and in Switzerland, beautiful Switzerland, 72% of the people in prisons are from outside of Switzerland. When your prisons are filled with so-called asylum seekers who repaid kindness, and that's what they did, they repaid kindness with crime, it's time to end the failed experiment of open borders. You have to end it now. See, I can tell you, I'm really good at this stuff. Your countries are going to hell. In America, we've taken bold action to swiftly shut down uncontrolled migration. Once we started detaining and deporting everyone who crossed the border and removing illegal aliens from the United States, they simply stopped coming. They're not coming anymore. We're getting a lot of credit, but they're not coming anymore. This was a humanitarian act for all involved because on the trips up, thousands of people a week were dying. Women were being raped. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. Raped, horribly beaten, raped. On the trip up, the journey up, it was a long walk. It was a long, arduous journey, indeed. And it was also a historic victory against human trafficking throughout the region. What we did was a victory, and we saved so many lives of people that wouldn't make the journey. That journey was loaded up with death. Loaded up with death. Dead bodies all along the roads of jungles, to get up. They go through jungles. They go through areas so hot you couldn't breathe. They were dying of suffocation. Areas so hot that you couldn't breathe. Dead bodies all over. By them not coming, we're saving tremendous numbers of lives. My people have done a fantastic job in doing what they did, and the American public agrees with it. I mean, I was very proud to see this morning I have the highest poll numbers I've ever had. Part of it is because of what we've done on the border. I guess the other part is crime, fighting crime, he says. One more here from the president at the United Nations. They must take control strongly and immediately of the unmitigated immigration disaster and the fake energy catastrophe before it's too late. The carbon footprint is a hoax made up by people with evil intentions, and they're heading down a path of total destruction. You know, the carbon footprint was a big, big thing a few years ago. I remember hearing about the carbon footprint, and then President Obama would get into Air Force One, a massive Boeing 747, and not a new one, an old one with old engines that spew everything into the atmosphere. He'd talk about the carbon footprint, we must do so. Then he'd get in and he'd fly from Washington to Hawaii to play a round of golf. And then he'd get back onto that big, beautiful plane and he'd fly back and he'd talk about, again, global warming and the carbon footprint. It's a con job.
Yes, it is a con job, and more people are seeing it. In fact, there's a story out today in the stack of stuff we've got. If you text Eric, E-R-I-C-K, to 33777, you can subscribe. Get the show notes. It's the first link. Alex Soros is upset with the Sunshine Movement, among other things. The environmentalist movement suddenly going all in on Gaza and relegating the environment to a back burner, and also increasingly becoming shrill when it comes to the back burner. It's just kind of a big deal. I got to tell you that the president was right to call out the United Nations today. It's kind of a worthless organization. We keep it in New York City. We allow foreign leaders to come into this country to talk there, and increasingly they just want to lecture us. It's just kind of silly that we continue to fund the United Nations. You know, my grandfather, my dad's dad, wrote a letter. In fact, they've still got it. It's framed. Wrote a letter. I forget to which president it was, basically saying that this was, I guess, back during the Truman era, that essentially the United Nations is a con. Get out of it, take the land back, and develop it for New York City. Fast forward to 2025, and my grandfather's grandson agrees. But we do allow access to foreign leaders to come into the United Nations, and at a time that they do that, we get to interview them, the press gets to interview them, but then also we get to remind ourselves of what clowns they are at the United Nations. Preceding Donald Trump on stage and his comments about environmentalism and climate change and the Green New Deal and the like was the UN Secretary General Guterres, who said this:
"We must choose climate justice. The climate crisis is accelerating, but so are the solutions. The clean energy future is no longer a distant promise. It's already here. No government, industry, or special interest can stop it. But some are trying, hurting economies, locking in higher prices, and squandering a historic opportunity."
Right. You know, climate justice, that's what they want. I think I'll pass on the United Nations. I think I'll stick with President Trump on that. That's happening right now. The Secret Service investigating what could have been a potential massive cyber attack on the cell networks of New York during the president's time at the United Nations, and the president speaking at the UN, ridiculing the UN for actually causing more problems than it actually helped solve. Greetings, conversationalists. It is Eric Erickson here. You are listening nationwide. I am in Middle Georgia, broadcasting to you from coast to coast. The phone number is 877-97-ERIC, 877-973-7425. If you want to be on the program, remember it's ERICK. And if you text ERICK, ERIC, to 33777, you can subscribe to the show notes. You can get the podcast. You can get the 4 Things to This Afternoon podcast. You can get all the social media links you need to follow me around. You should be following me on YouTube and Instagram, by the way. I'm also on Rumble and Facebook, Twitter, everywhere else you need to be, except Snapchat, because I'm a middle-aged man, and no middle-aged man has a business being on Snapchat. Good Lord, people. Nonetheless, I digress. So I want to present to you something. We'll get to Jimmy Kimmel return when we come back. I think I might have been the only person on the radio to say he was suspended, not canceled or fired. Turns out he was suspended, and he is back. Let me pitch something to you. Late night with Shane Gillis or Joe Rogan or Theo Vaughn or Nate Bargatze, coming to you live from Austin, Texas, or Nashville, Tennessee, featuring interviews with the zany locals from Austin or Nashville, celebrities who live there or are coming through town, and Matthew McConaughey random appearances if it's in Austin, and maybe the local barbecuers coming on, and some impressive live music every night. No need for an intro band, and you do that at 11 o'clock. I think I would watch that. You have a comedian who relates to both coasts and the middle, and is not not turning the show into political diatribes every night. Interviews with funny people, not politicians. Great music every night. I almost a variety show. I think that would work in a late night slot where Stephen Colbert and Jimmy Kimmel have turned their shows into just progressive outreach every night. Stephen Colbert this week is literally having a Democratic politician on every single night. Why would I want to watch that? The Late Show with Shane Gillis or Nate Bargatze or Theo Vaughn or Joe Rogan, somewhere other than L.A. or New York, interviewing people other than politicians. I suspect it would work. What also works is the Eden Pure Thunderstorm. You can get 3 of them and save $200 at EdenPureDeals.com. The Eden Pure Thunderstorm is an air purifier, so it gets rid of pollen, gets rid of dust, it gets rid of pet dander, it gets rid of 99.9% of bacteria and viruses that flow through it, and then on top of all of that, it generates ozone and wipes out odors. No odor can stand up to it. Litter box odors, smoke odors, pet odors, crying shrimp in the kitchen odors, they all get wiped out. In fact, I've used mine regularly to wipe out odors. I don't even use it as an air purifier. I use it to wipe out odors. You can plug it into the wall. You can plug it up with a USB cord in your car or your laptop if you need to, and it just works. EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code is ERIC3, ERICK3. At EdenPureDeals.com, you'll get 3 of them. You'll save $200. You'll get them for less than $200, and they just work. Get one for upstairs, downstairs, your basement, wherever you need them. EdenPureDeals.com, discount code ERIC3. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here across the United States. The phone number 877-973-7425. If you want to be on the program, let's talk about Jimmy Kimmel. He's back. My daughter is a sophomore in school in college. She has decided to go the economics accounting route. She didn't want to have to deal on a daily basis with calculus. I don't blame her. And I'm glad she's taking a broad approach. She's doing study abroad next year. She just told me she got accepted, and she was in a marketing class this morning, and the professor started asking about ratings and Nielsen ratings, things like that, that we in the entertainment industry have to know about and pay attention to, and was asking what a rating was, and no one answered. So my kid raised her hand and answered, and then was asking how they're collected, and no one answered. So my kid did. Then wanted to know about syndication models, and again, my kid answered. Professor has no idea who my kid is until someone else in class explained why my kid knew all the answers. Then it got a little awkward. But nonetheless, ratings are a key to success in the media industry. You know, I get told a lot of times by people who hate me on the left and the right that you're terrible. I never listen to you. And I'm like, that's fine. I know what my ratings are. It is an arbitrary, insane world when you think about it, however, because we are in the media industry oftentimes rely on a company that nobody likes, that gives us data that nobody trusts to tell us how well programs are doing when other data suggests they may be doing better or worse. That data can be politicized. Back when Barack Obama was president, Barack Obama insisted that instead of using the demographics of people who consume the media, everything needed to be racially balanced to certain areas. If you're a white person who loved your jazz radio station that no longer exists, it went out of business because the ratings went down. It's one of the reasons why. Wealthy income white people listen to jazz radio, but when you adjust the demographics accordingly to the population of an area as opposed to the population of people who listen to radio, messes things up, and those sorts of stations have to be then subsidized by National Public Radio, which itself is a nonprofit entity that actually competes with for-profit stations by being in a ratings business that it doesn't need to be in because it doesn't do advertising, and yet by sticking itself into the ratings process can mess up the ratings for other companies that actually could be performing better in the ratings without NPR competing with them, and those stations are for profit. It's a shady thing that NPR does. It's just kind of insane. And ratings still matter. And the ratings for Jimmy Kimmel have declined in the key demo. And advertisers, they like 18 to like 35, 18 to 45. But where advertisers really love the prime demo is the 25 to 54-year-old demographic of people. Why? Because when you're 18 to 35, you're really 18 to 25, you're a coveted future prospect for advertising. But when you're 25 and you get out of college, you're beginning to develop brand loyalty. And the advertisers want you because of your brand loyalty. When you get to 55 years old, you're on the way out of the job pool, you're retiring, advertisers don't care about you anymore. There are a lot of news networks. Fox News is one where their massive ratings come from people at the 54, 55 and higher bracket. By the way, I was just told I was on News Nation on Sunday in the 1 o'clock hour, and that 1 o'clock hour that I was on crushed the ratings of CNN and MSNBC combined that Sunday. Excellent. Glad to have played a part in it. The ratings matter for advertisers. Those stations that do very well in the 25 to 54-year-old demographic make a lot of money because the advertisers want to advertise there because that's where the ears and the eyeballs of their prospective purchasers are. And every single one of you right now listening to me has a preferred brand. You all do. Are you a Tide family? Are you a Gain family? Or are you a homeopathic, non-chemical borax family? Are you a Dawn or a Palmolive family? Or are you a Northern or a Charmin family? I grew up a Northern family and married into a Charmin family. Are you a Bounty or a Brawny or a generic paper towel family? Are you a Kirkland's Original or a Walmart family? You've all got brands. Every single one of you has a brand. And the advertisers hope when you're 25 to 35 and you're watching and consuming media, you're developing brand loyalties and they want to target you. And then from 35 to 54, they want to make sure that they don't lose you to a different competing brand with a newer, better product. Jimmy Kimmel has returned to ABC, and I don't think he's long for the world because his ratings are bad, and his ratings have been bad, and his ratings have declined further. Jimmy Kimmel has been losing audience faster than broadcast television generally has been losing audience, and broadcast television has been losing audience faster than radio has been losing audience. Why? Because Jimmy Kimmel has decided to cater to less than half of the country. Jimmy Kimmel, like Stephen Colbert, decided to alienate more than half the country. If you're not a coastal progressive elite, Jimmy Kimmel is not doing TV or comedy for you in the same way Stephen Colbert is not. CBS decided that Stephen Colbert was unprofitable because he had alienated so much of the audience David Letterman built. Jimmy Kimmel has done no better. But what's important is that last Wednesday, ABC said they suspended Jimmy Kimmel. Now, I need you to know that I, your host, who tries to be honest, occasionally makes mistakes and has to correct himself, but I played this straight through and through. I told you he was not fired. I told you he was not canceled. I told you he would return. I told you that because that's what ABC said. He was suspended. Suspension is different from expulsion. It's different from cancellation. It's different from firing. And yet the progressives insisted that Jimmy Kimmel had been fired or canceled by ABC, and MAGA insisted he had been canceled from ABC and driven out of the building. No, he was suspended, which meant he was going to come back. And in the later newspaper publications at the Wall Street Journal and then the Hollywood Reporter and others, they all commented that Jimmy Kimmel was suspended because when asked how he was going to handle the growing blowback to his Monday statements, he was going to double down and attack Donald Trump. And I got to say, it was the right call. But the left doesn't understand it. In fact, let me read you this paragraph at Variety. Just listen to this. This is at Variety, a Hollywood trade publication. Kimmel's unpolished approach to politics got him into trouble, but can paradoxically be a tool to get him back out. Some segment of the viewing public who might generally disapprove of perceived disrespect to the Kirk story might be willing to, and I quote, give the benefit of the doubt to a host who does not present as a movement liberal and who speaks about politics a bit like any old person. Only someone completely in a progressive bubble could write such a thing. Jimmy Kimmel and Stephen Colbert are the most progressive partisan hosts on late night. Now, you should know Nexstar and Sinclair, the two largest ABC affiliate owners, have said they're not running Kimmel. They're not putting him back on. They're going to continue to boycott him, and that's going to hurt the advertising for ABC. Which, again, I gotta say, I don't think Kimmel is long for the world of television on ABC. His ratings aren't good. At the end of the day, television radio is a business about ratings. You've got to be able to generate high ratings to generate revenue for your company. And if you don't, you get taken off the air. Kimmel has killed the ratings for ABC late night. Nobody wants to watch it. I say I think I got the perfect idea. You would have to you could probably get it cheaper. It's cheaper to produce a show outside of New York and L.A. Stephen Colbert is produced in New York. Jimmy Kimmel is produced in L.A. They are both very expensive union rule shops that are required in order to produce those shows. It drives up costs. ABC and CBS are both losing money on their late night shows. Move it to Austin, Texas, or to Nashville, Tennessee. Get a Nate Bargatze or a Shane Gillis or Joe Rogan or a Theo Vaughn or an Andrew Schultz, somebody like that. Someone who's younger, more related to the online world. Interview the crazy people who live in Nashville and Austin. Interview the local celebrities who float in and out. Interview the celebrities who fly into town to promote their movies and works. Don't interview the politicians. Instead of having a nightly band, have a band that comes in every night. Have a new band. They can provide the opening music. They can provide the music into commercial breaks. They can do their own production number. Have a local barbecuer come in. Nashville and Austin, they're right for having that. It's a far more entertaining show. I would watch a show like that. It's not in-your-face politics for one side or the other. It's promoting movies. It's promoting TV shows. It's having funny conversations with interesting people who aren't politics or celebrities. The crazy guy who stands on the side of the road dressed absurdly. You know, there's a guy in my town. He stands out on a crosswalk by a Chick-fil-A. He wears a Roman centurion's helmet. You can't see his face. He holds a fake sword and a sign that to have eternal life, you must be born again. And next to him is a wading pool, a little bitty blue wading pool that he's got filled with water. And if you go talk to him, cross the busy intersection, stand there underneath the little island of concrete where the pedestrian crossing sign is, he'll baptize you. He'll baptize you right there. He'll share the gospel with you, get you in the wading pool, and he will baptize you. I've never seen anybody get in the wading pool to be baptized, but he's there every single week doing the Lord's work, street evangelism, willing to share the gospel, holding up signs, denouncing sin. You know, Shane Gillis or Joe Rogan or Andrew Schultz or Nate Bargatze could have a funny, meaningful conversation with that guy. You know, he could. Jimmy Kimmel couldn't. Stephen Colbert couldn't. One of those guys could. I'd watch it. They could bring on a barbecuer from Nashville or Austin. They got some famous barbecuers. They could have an incredible conversation with them. If it's in Austin, have appearances by Matthew McConaughey floating in and out. It'd be an incredible show. It'd be a show that many Americans would watch because it takes them out of politics. It takes them out of the real world into a funny world, a cool world that they would like to be. And that's what late night used to be. After the evening news, the death and horror and the weather of the evening news, you would join Johnny Carson and he would make you laugh. He would laugh at and with celebrities who were coming to his show to promote their products and have very interesting conversations with extraordinary Americans you would have never otherwise heard of. And people across the country watch. Now, it's more different now because we've got streaming. Fewer people are watching broadcasts. But, you know, ironically, the data from the ratings suggests that it's more older conservatives watching broadcasts still than progressives. And yet, Stephen Colbert and Jimmy Kimmel have decided to wrap their entire shows around progressive politics and politicians, when the demographic data of ratings suggests it's actually older conservatives are more likely to be the ones watching broadcast television. You could save late night and save money by doing my idea. ABC has brought Jimmy Kimmel back. He was not canceled. He was not expelled. He wasn't fired. The dictatorship we had last week apparently has expired. All the left, they poured gas on themselves. They set themselves on fire screaming, it's a dictatorship. It's a dictatorship. It's authoritarian. Brendan Carr did this, and yet Jimmy Kimmel is now back. So I guess we don't actually have a dictatorship. We don't have an authoritarian leader. We don't have a Brendan Carr out of control at the FCC. Bob Iger gets to say, I'm shooting the middle finger to all of them. I'm bringing Kimmel back. The left gets to celebrate. The right got Jimmy Kimmel's scalp last week. The left gets Brendan Carr's scalp this week. Bob Iger stands supreme. And yet Kimmel continues to lose money, which means he's actually still dead man walking in TV. Hello there. It is Eric Erickson here across the nation. The phone number is 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, I would be very, very happy to have you. We got other stuff we got to talk about, including Kamala Harris's book, but this is way too funny. And I got to put this here because I saw this story and I thought this is to be expected. And also one of the funniest stories I have seen that they're talking about. It turns out, you will not be surprised by this, the board of directors of the Global Summit Flotilla, a multinational convoy of several dozen vessels seeking to breach Israel's naval blockade of Gaza, has collapsed in internal disputes. According to Le Courrier de l'Atlas, a French-language magazine covering Maghreb affairs, local coordinators are stepping down in protest by the inclusion of LGBTQ activists in the flotilla. Among them, Saif Ayati, who identifies as a queer activist. Others, including a television presenter, Samil El-Wafi, have condemned what they say is an effort to impose progressive cultural agenda unrelated to the Palestinian cause on the Palestinian people. Greta Thunberg has stepped down from leadership because, well, she was on the side of the LGBTQ plus community, and the Muslims involved in the community are all upset about the Alphabet Gang inserting themselves into Palestinian affairs. Who could have seen this coming? Go to ericforhillsdale.com today, and you can take one of 40 free classes from Hillsdale College. I couldn't figure out an appropriate way to transition from one of those statements to the other. We're just going with Hillsdale right now. You go to ericforhillsdale.com today. You take one of those classes. They're 30-minute video lectures, and you take them, and you learn. Now, you pick the class you want. There's one on the Federalist Papers. There's one on capitalism. There are 40 to choose from. There's a really good one on C.S. Lewis, by the way. Really, really, really good. I took it a number of years ago. But every class, it depends on the class, how many video lectures there are. But all the lectures are 30 minutes each by video with one of Hillsdale's faculty. You learn a lot. You do it at your own pace. You get a certificate of completion. You don't pay a penny. But you get smart about something. They have classes covering philosophy, politics, history, religion, literature, economics, chemistry, math, and so much more. Eric, E-R-I-C-K, ericforhillsdale.com. Pick a class you're interested in, sign up, spend time with Hillsdale College, find why they're so amazing, never pay a penny. ericforhillsdale.com.